1985 World Hot Rod Final. These are racing saloon cars, professionally prepared and very quick. And one man who knows more about it than anyone is 4-time world champion Barry Lee. Barry, do the hard thing. Pick out a potential winner for us.
Oh, that's very, very hard. I think 88's going very, very well. He's defending his championship, and I think he's going to be the man to beat, Peter Grimer. You can't think that Ormond Christie's not going to be up there, and also George Polly, 306.
But these, in fact, are the fastest at the front, unusually, isn't it?
Yes, the fastest have to do 3 time laps this morning, which they've all done. They're all going very, very quickly. But don't forget, the first 10 cars are all on the same second.
Now, there's an American for the first time in the field, John Levy. Has he got a chance in this new form of racing for him?
Oh, everybody's got a chance. He couldn't be. He had to qualify, so he's got to be good to be here. Number 18, as you say, John Levy, he qualified 15th on 15.84. That's just under 1 second behind the fastest, which was Ormond Christie.
But experience is everything here, really.
Oh, of course. Drive with your head and not your right foot.
OK, well, you'll be watching for the first time ever, so I know you've got to get up into the commentary box, so we'll be joining you later.
Thank you.
And I know Barry Lee's a pretty smooth mover and a fast one, too, because we can immediately join the action.
And up the front, it's the defending title holder. 88, Peter Grimer, who takes the lead. Number 19, Mick Collard, is quickly into second place. Ormond Christie is third in 9.62. Then Paul Grimer in number 88, the brother of the 88 driver. That's number 8, Paul Grimer. Peter and Paul, so we mustn't try and get those two confused.
They're putting up such a scorching pace, Nigel. They are actually lapping on the first 4 laps here, 15.8 seconds, 15.8 seconds. That's one of the reasons we've lost 6 cars in this final already. The race is so fast, I've never ever seen it. It's the first time I've actually seen a World Championship, because I'm usually out there with them, but this is with the technique that I would be using. If they're keeping this pace up, it will be over in about 10 minutes.
And here comes the challenge from the Irishman now on the title holder. Got himself beautifully on the inside to sweep through. There was very little separating them on the practice times. 15.38 was the lap time for Ormond Christie in 9.62, and 15.56 was the time for 88, Peter Grimer. And that fraction of a second now is telling, but as Barry said, they're going round here now, mixed in with the other cars in times only very marginally slower than those they were doing all on their own in practice when the track was completely unobstructed.
There's Duffy Collard. Smoke is starting to come from the number 19 car now. He's back in about 8th or 9th position. As you can see, either his tyres have gone off. Yes, I think it's his tyres. You can see him skidding very, very widely going round the corner.
OK, now, meanwhile, back up the front, there is a real scrap now, because Ormond Christie on the inside there, you can see the Toyota word on the back of the car, 9.62, got held up by those group of back markers, and that was just the chance Peter Grimer was waiting for, because that's what's got rid of that 30-yard lead that I talked about only a few minutes ago. And as you can see now, Peter very much back in contention, and that was simply the fault of a bunch of back markers who would not move out of the way, and Ormond had no option but to sit and wait.
Now you watch Ormond pull away now. He's got a clear track in front. He's got one other car there. When we say they're coming up to a slower car, let's be honest, from Ormond's time that he qualified on pole position, there was only 1.5 seconds from his time to the last place car on the grid, so no one's actually going that slow. They're going very, very quick indeed.
So that's the 1-2. The third place now changed, because it's 9.50. Norman Woolsey, the man who finished third last year as we hit 50 of the 75 laps, who has now gone into third place, with Stu Jackson in 1.56, losing ground to drop back to fourth. So the 1-2-3 now is 9.62, Ormond Christie from 88, Peter Grimer, 9.50, Norman Woolsey, 1.56, Stu Jackson, 2.42, Pete Stevens. And then we move back. Let's have a look where we go next. We've got to go quite a long way back to find 8, Paul Grimer, 19, Mick Collard, who's definitely losing ground now. So that's the way they go, but the man who is up the front and still comfortably there is Ormond Christie in 9.62, and to show you how well he's going, he's just passed 3.06, you can see him there, he's just lapped 3.06 George Polly, the man who won this title in 1976, and what's more, the man who is currently the national points champion in the Speedworth circuits in England, so he's no slouch, and Ormond has lapped him. And now the pressure is going on the defending title holder for that third place. There they are, 88 and 9.50.
This is a terrible position for Peter B in the car 88. He's defending his championship. He's got somebody crawling all over him. He's got a rash all over his body there, trying to get by. You think to yourself now, oh, can I catch the lead car? No, I can't. Shall I race for second? Shall I hold the other car up or not? I think Norman Woolsey will be going through in about 1 or 2 laps time.
Here comes the challenge any moment now. If Peter Grimer leaves a gap, he will be through. Now, Casey got his nose up enough. He has. Peter Grimer made a mistake. He let the car drift a little wide coming off the turn, and he gave a chink of light. Norman Woolsey was there, and he's now in second place. The only question remaining in the laps that are still to run is, can he catch Ormond Christie in 9.62? There's Ormond in the thick of it there. There's Leon Smith, number 3, in front of him, number 8. Paul Grimer, the brother of Peter. He's just lapped him as well. That's the way, Norman. That's how fast Ormond is going. And he's got to hang on now. 64 laps out of the 75 are now gone. And here's the chance that Norman Woolsey was very ready to take. Off the turn, a little wide went Peter Grimer and through on the inside. Now, if he's got the legs down the straight, he can make it to the turn. He had enough to take the ground, and he was up into second place, and that's where he is right now. 3 more laps to go.
There's only one thing the lead car is thinking now. He's checking oil temperatures, he's checking oil pressures, he's making sure his brakes, he's still got a brake pedal, and he's now just hoping and praying everything will hold together. Those last 3 laps will seem like 100 minutes.
Number 3, Leon Smith, who we saw holding up Norman Woolsey, is in fact in about 5th place, but of course he is a whole lap behind, and still should have moved out of the way. So that's the man who's got the chasing to do, but I think he's not going to have anything like enough time to do it. 808 moves out of the way. That's Willie Miller from Scotland to give Norman Woolsey a clear run, but the gap is going to be too great. Inside the final lap now for Ormond Christie. He can afford to take it relatively easy. Cruises past the 44 back marker. Round the final turn, it's going to Northern Ireland again. Here he comes now to take the flag. A victory clenched fist out of the window. It's Northern Ireland 1 and 2 as Ormond Christie from Crumlin takes the Motorquip Hot Rod Championship of the World once again. And it's Northern Ireland's second too, because it's Norman Woolsey in car number 950 who finishes in second place. The defending title holder, Peter Grimer, in car number 88, has to settle for third. What a scrap and what a performance from this cool, calm and collected driver. A disappointment for Peter Grimer after putting up a time only fractions of a second in practice slower than Ormond Christie, but on the day he really was not quick enough. And so the title and indeed the second place go to Northern Ireland. A fine win for 9.62. Ormond Christie, the new hot rod champion of the world. The drivers waiting for that green flag. All eyes on the starting marshal. And that's it. The 1986 Hot Rod World Championship is underway, and they've got 75 laps of this enormous Ipswich circuit now to come, and it's 3:06. George Polly for England, who hits the front first of all, ahead of number 8, Paul Grimer. Behind him, the defending title holder, 9.62, Ormond Christie, then 9.50, Norman Woolsey. From Northampton, 63, Phil White. From the Midlands, 2.42, Pete Stevens. Then 3.59, former midget racing car world champion Alf Bora. Then comes 5.55, John Close. That's the order now as they come up to complete the first lap. And it's 3:06, George Polly, already under pressure from Paul Grimer. Ormond Christie still sitting there in third place with his fellow countryman from Ulster in fourth place. One casualty already, the 714 car. Graham Luscombe has gone out onto the centre green, and he's the only casualty so far. So it's 3:06, George Polly from number 8, Paul Grimer. And let's bring in Barry Lee here. A good start for George.
A magnificent start there, but Paul Grimer has just taken George Polly on that corner. There was oil down from that previous lap, and Paul Grimer has done a fantastic start on the start of this race. Actually retook George Polly there. Now George Polly is lying second. He won't be worried at this time, at this stage in the race. It's very, very early, but being hounded by the 3-time world champion Christie there. But Paul Grimer is absolutely driving fantastically now. He's in fact pulling out a lead. As long as he conserves his tyres and keeps them around about 220 degrees temperature, these Avon tyres will stay to the end of the race. But Christie is making a dive at the inside of George, and he's taken George.
Well, Paul Grimer certainly going very well to start off with. Paul never been in the first three in this one. Certainly not as far as my memory goes back. So, something of a turn up for the book for him to get such a flying start. But maybe we oughtn't to get too excited because it's a very, very long race, 75 laps. George Polly, despite that very early start, has now allowed Ormond Christie to get in front of him to take second place. So the 1, 2, 3, as we look at the lap sheet, with 9 laps gone now, it's number 8, Paul Grimer, just passing a slower back marker. That was the 43 car, Joop Stoffels from Holland. George Polly just coming up now to pass the Dutchman. So 8 Paul Grimer the leader, 9.62 Ormond Christie second, 3.06 George Polly third. Then we've got a little tussle between 9.50 Norman Woolsey, 63 Phil White, and 2.42 Pete Stevens beginning to move up in that second group. Back at the front of the grid, the leaders now, of course, beginning to catch up with
Nigel. We've got oil on the track. Oil is down on the track now. We have one car in the safety fence there. He's now reversed out of the safety fence so that oil flag will still stay out, but he's getting very slippery there. As you see, Paul Grimer and Norman Woolsey have gone round the outside of him, and Grimer's gone off. He's got problems with the front near side of the steering of his car. He's definitely got steering problem there. On the replay, I think you'll see this coming up. He's back on. I think his race is well run.
Well, that seems to be maybe the end for him. He's certainly lost the place now. On the inside, he had a little nudge on that back end. He's now got, of course, onto the loose shale on the inside. All grip is now completely gone, and the power that's under that bonnet is useless. He hits the tyre, the front wheels seem to be splayed, and we'll have to see now how indeed he was used. Number 8, Paul Grimer. It's still 8, and there's more problems out there as a couple more cars disappears onto the infield. We've lost 3.06. George Polly is out of the race. George Polly's out on the centre. He got mixed up with 777, the German Rolf Adams, and the pair of them have gone. So we've lost George Polly. Now the pace really, I don't think is that hot at the moment because the 63 car of Phil White, he was well down in the time trials to determine the grid positions, and he's well on terms of them in terms of actual speed on the day. So maybe now they've got a bit of a clearer run, we'll begin to see that leading group move away a little. Because one would certainly have expected them to separate themselves from some of the slower cars. In terms of times to determine the grid positions for the first of the semi-finals, there wasn't a lot to choose between the leaders. 9.50 Norman Woolsey was fastest with 16.99, but Ormond Christie was not far behind him with 17.12. Those, of course, were in the wet conditions yesterday, but not a lot to choose between them, and it's going to take a mistake, a pile-up, an error maybe by a back marker to let Norman Woolsey through. And Ormond Christie, very cool, very calm, very collected. He's not the sort of guy that makes mistakes easily. So once again, as we look at the sheet, there are 51 laps of the 75 gone. And the Ulsterman, as in so many of the past years, dominates. First 2 places, 9.62, Norman Christie, 9.50, Norman Woolsey. With the Midlander 2.42, Pete Stevens still well there in 3rd place. Well, is this how it's going to finish? What are the chances now, do you think, Barry, of somebody getting past Norman Christie?
He's got to make a mistake for somebody to get past, but incredibly so, Nigel, they are actually lapping in just over 16 seconds, about 16.1. That is incredibly fast because Christie, as I say, is leading, and that's virtually on maximum race speed for the duration of this race. So they're actually driving flat out. So it's not a case of Christie's holding Norman Woolsey up, but I do feel, looking at the techniques that those two are using, they are in fact holding Pete Stevens up, as you can see there. They would like to take this back home to Northern Ireland, and I feel sure that the first and second don't really mind which one takes it, but they are definitely holding the 2.42 car up, and what we say doing team racing. I would be doing the same, so it's not wrong.
Yes, and of course this is a non-contact formula, supposed to be. And of course once these pressures begin to come on there, it looks very much as if Pete Stevens is pushing the back of that car. And I'm sure, as well as anything else, the frustration is beginning to build, because as Barry says, it looks maybe as if Pete Stevens' car is marginally faster than the other two, but of course it's not fast enough for him to just be able to say, oh, blow it, and pull to the outside and say, I'll drive past these guys. Oh, a little opportunity there momentarily for Norman Woolsey, but you need so much extra power to be able to just drive past when the gap is only small. And to be fair, you've got to get quite a lot of your car up on the inside, and there, disaster. The back end of, that's what happens when they drive too close. The back end of Norman Woolsey's car, of Pete Stevens' car rather, hung out, and 917, his fellow, the other Northern Ireland man, Mervyn McReynolds, just gave a gentle nudge, and that puts Pete Stevens round. Let's have a look. So here they come then, into the turn. What I was saying, the frustration begins to build. He tries it on the inside. It was his fault. Pete Stevens didn't hang his back end out. It was definitely the fault of the Ulsterman. 917 shoved, and that's Pete Stevens well out of contention.
Sorry to say it, that was the English challenge in there, and the Paddies had to do something, mate, and they took us out fair and square there.
That was the man that did it, Mervyn McReynolds. Just on 60 laps now, and the pressure is still on at the front. But the fact of the matter is now, there's just these two for the moment. Because now, Ormond Christie and Norman Woolsey have really got it very much their own way, because they are now clear. The third place man now is number 8, Paul Grimer. And in fact, there's the man involved in that incident who has now pulled off. I hate to say it, but it has to go through one's mind, wondering whether he's now decided to quit once the job has been done.
I've got to agree with you there, Nigel. I'm sorry, we mustn't be biased, but that was absolute, deliberate, diabolical driving.
So now, where might the challenge to these two Ulstermen come from now? It's Ormond Christie clear, and with Norman Woolsey, and this is the man who, despite that incident we saw early in the race, has now fought his way back into third place. Paul Grimer in car number 8, and he's now got quite a lot of ground to make up. Problems over there. That was one of the back markers that in fact was mixed in with the leaders. I think that's 156. I'm not sure quite who that was, but he's out well and truly. And we're back up front. Here we are. 962 from 950. Now, a bit of a gamble on the outside. No, thought better of it. It's always a gamble on the outside. Going in a little close. Here's the man who's chasing. Number
414 car there of Neil Facey. He, in fact, is the co-driver of Pete Stevens that was lying third in this race and got took out by one of the Irish drivers. Mervyn McReynolds took him out. So the 414 car there, Neil Facey is in fact lying fourth behind Peter Grimer.
And there they are. While we're watching that, indeed, it's Norman Woolsey who goes through in front. Momentary lapse of concentration maybe by Ormond Christie, and he was through. And now he's pulling away too. Well, he's had a third place, he's had a second place. Is he going to take it this time? We've still got some time to go. The 69 laps have gone, and there's just 5 more to go. And I have to say at this stage it's looking very much as if Norman Woolsey now is going to take this. The gap is beginning to widen. Further back, the rest of the places, 8 is Paul Grimer, 672 now. In fact, Paul Staines has moved up into the 4th place, so there's one or two changes further back. But this man is now clear, and one has to say, it looks very much as if he is going to become the world champion.
Nigel, incredible. He's dropped the lap time down to 15.8 on 5 laps to go. After all those laps with a warm car, warm tyres, the guy's took his brain out, driving with his right foot, and he's doing 15.8.
Remarkable performance, and that is showing now in the way he seems to be opening a gap ahead of Ormond Christie. He's been frustrated for lap after lap. He just couldn't get past. The opportunity then came, and he grasped it with both hands. The 2-lap marker is out, And it's going to be Ulster to dominate this race yet again. They call him Grandad. He's rather thin on top. A charming character is Norman Woolsey. A very cool sort of guy. Takes it in a very relaxed style, and that's exactly what he's doing now in front. Ormond Christie must realise, I think, there's no point in getting right up behind him, because it's all over. It's too late. The checkered flag goes down, and we have a new world champion. And it's this man here, the driver of car number 950 from Portadown in Northern Ireland. Our 86 hot rod world champion is Norman Woolsey. In second place, the defending title holder is 962 Ormond Christie, and the man who did so well after problems early on and going so well in the early stages, number 8, Paul Grimer, gets the third place. Paul Staines in 672 is fourth, and car number 862 Malcolm Cheshire from Scotland fills the fifth position. A creditable performance.